Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by the wonderful Cavenaugh, and we are going to talk about why it is so important to feel your pain. Because a lot of us do so many things to avoid feeling our pain, including all the addictions that people are struggling with and not excluding the addictions. So we thought it would be immensely valuable to just really talk about why it's important to not run away from your pain, but to really embrace it and feel it so that it can be transformed. So I've been really looking forward to talking to you today, Katie, and I thank you so much for being here today.
Of course, I'm really excited to talk on this topic. It's one of my near and dear topics to my heart. So I'm really happy to be able to share some of my insight with all of our listeners today.
I love it. So there's no time like the present, so let's dive in immediately. What would be your take on why it is so important to feel your pain completely? What are your experiences?
Yeah, so like you were saying earlier in the intro about how so many of us run away from our pain, the reason why it's important to feel that pain is because if we're not experiencing pain on some level, then we don't have the opportunity to experience joy on that same level. So, for example, if we're experiencing the most intense pain we have ever had in our lives, then we can somewhere deep down know that there's the complete opposite that is available for us because we live here in polarity. We can't have dark without the light. And so when we're in those times of darkness where we feel like it's just so consuming, that's when it's so important to feel the pain because that pain has the light within it. And in the feeling and the experience of going through and in and being with that uncomfortableness of the pain, then we understand that we have the power to transmute that pain choice by choice, moment by moment, breath by breath into the light that is held within it. And through this discovery of ourselves in this dark time and through all the pain and the suffering and all of the emotional intensity, I guess we could say, that we're feeling, there's so many little tiny lessons for us in feeling through the experience, and we can learn about ourselves and we can learn where we're resisting being who we are meant to be. And by being in that darkness, we understand who we are a little bit more. We understand what we're running from and perhaps why we're running from it. And a lot of the times we don't want to feel these feelings, this pain, and we can get into this spot because for whatever reason we feel like we can't get out of it, or we feel like it's going to be too intense or overwhelming, or we're going to find out something that we really don't want to find out, or we just don't want to experience it ever again. And so therefore we shut ourselves down. But when we shut ourselves down from feeling that aspect of who we are, we can't be the full embodiment of our uniqueness and our being because we're shutting ourselves off to that particular part. So, part of the whole loving yourself movement is feeling that pain and loving the parts of you that had to go through that pain. And a lot of times we don't understand that we didn't have another choice. We had to go through what we went through because we didn't have the information available to make another choice. We didn't know there was another choice. We weren't given an opportunity sometimes to make that other choice. And so we go through these experiences in life that we set up for ourselves. We do have to remember we decided to come here, we put a plan in place. And so it does include these moments and dark nights of the soul, if you will, of getting to learn who we are and why our experience is so robust. Is a good word here. Robust in the different types of emotional experiences that we have here. And so in order to get to the light and to do this really freeing work, then you do have to be willing to go deep into that darkness and deep into that pain, which is
Mhm,
why it's so valuable to
mhm.
to lean in, really.
Yes, I completely agree with you. And I've went through multiple dark nights of the soul. I always thought that you only had one, but no, no.
No.
It is very possible to have multiple. I've experienced this myself. So if you think, oh, I've already gone through this and why am I
Oh
in
no.
it again? Is this normal? Yes, it can be. So I completely follow what you're saying, but I can imagine that some people that are watching and are listening might have trouble grasping what you mean when you say the light is in the pain.
Yeah. So to really understand what that is all about, it's helpful to actually go through the experience. And if you're okay with it, I'd love to just do a really quick demo on what that means, because it's much easier to feel it than it is to say it in words and have people try to understand it. Because
Yes.
again, that information comes to us in a way that we do just immediately understand, even if we can't necessarily describe it.
Yes.
So let's see, we all have our own baggage and whatever's going on with us. So it's probably pretty easy to think of something right now that is giving you some sort of angst or pain in your life. And so I will just invite you from wherever you're at right now to just take a nice deep breath and just clear out the day. Give yourself permission to be in your body and feel that breath as it moves through you. And then bring to mind whatever it is that's causing you pain. And it could be anything. Maybe it's your finances, maybe it's someone you work with, or your kids, or your living situation, whatever it is. And just notice for a moment where you feel that in your physical body. A lot of times it'll show up as tightness or some sort of resistance. Sometimes it even can be like burning or pinching or punching. But if you notice when you're physically in your body where you're feeling those sensations, that gives you an idea of where that energy can be trapped. And so as we breathe and as we go into our bodies, just thinking about this thing that brings us pain, it's the thought that triggers the emotion. So when we go down, we find that sensation. For me, it's right here in the center of my stomach with something that I'm dealing with. So notice for you where it is, where you're finding that intensity. And then see if you can find the most intense point, almost like making a little bullseye for yourself. And drop down and see if you can bring all of your awareness into that one spot. And we're not going to try to change anything. We're not going to try to make anything go away. We don't even need to know what it is or why it's there. But just the simple acknowledgement that there's something going on inside the body and it's being responded to with some sort of sensations. That's your key to freedom. That's the awareness. That's the little bit of awareness that you need in order to start setting things free. And so focusing in, staying completely in the body, out of the mind, out of the stories, out of any thoughts that might come through, just reconnecting to the breath, going back into those sensations, simply allowing yourself to be with them and saying to yourself, I am willing to experience a change, even if I don't know what it is. And just notice what's happening inside of your body now. And just staying with the breath, bringing back to mind any of that pain or that angst, that situation, noticing if you're still feeling sensations, noticing if they're somewhere different this time, and bringing the attention back into the body, into that most intense point that you can find. And you can say to yourself, I'm here with you. It's safe. It's right. It's good to feel. And just holding space for yourself to allow that energy to change without you having to do anything. Oh, there we go. And I'll just invite you to notice what you notice about how you feel right now. I noticed that in just those few minutes, something lightened up, something moved for me. And hopefully something moved for you too. And if not, that's okay. Again, just being present in the body is the key to freedom. That awareness is what starts the healing process. So, from that exercise, what you can notice is that when you have those thoughts of pain or angst or frustration, anger, whatever it might be, it lives within your physical body. And we can call it the darkness, that shadow side of ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge or deal with, because maybe that's a side of us that we don't want to see. Maybe it's a side of us that has a lot of anger or a lot of rage or a lot of shame, and that's where we hold a lot of what we consider to be that darkness. And when we are willing to go in and to feel where that darkness is and what it might be holding for us, we can start to feel those shifts of energy moving through. And that's what's alchemizing all of this darker energy into a lighter vibration. So that's what we mean when we talk about changing the dark to the light, and how it does already live within us. And it truly is just a matter of changing where our point of focus is to access that higher vibration, that higher level of consciousness, that light that we are working towards embodying most of the time. I'm not going to say all the time, because I think that's impossible. Because nobody can always be happy. Nobody can always be on that high vibration, because then you're missing out on the duality of what life really is. We need to have those pain points again in order so that we can make the choice to be on that higher vibration the majority of the time. And again, by acknowledging where we're holding that darkness and being willing to sit with it and be uncomfortable in it, that's strengthening our ability to hold the light. And it actually allows us to open up and hold even more light. We're expanding our containers every time we sit down and are willing to do this work, whether it's meditating, whether it's receiving some sort of energy healing, performing some sort of energy healing, or even just sitting in nature and just reconnecting with ourselves. The more that we can say to ourselves, I'm not going to be up in my head thinking about all my problems, or perpetuating my own loop cycles of pain and suffering. I'm going to let that go for a few moments and just sit here and soak in the sunlight and listen to the birds and the water and the wind and whatever it is. That's what connects us to accessing more of our light. So I hope that explains it in a way that
I
doesn't use
love that. Yes. And I also love that you took us through an exercise or through a journey, because I participated in your exercise. And what came up for me was a sharp pain here in my breast, but also like a constricting feeling in my throat. And what Katie says, it's true. It can manifest in many forms. It can be indeed a tightness or a stabbing pain, a dull pain. It can be even tingling or just a heavy feeling or sensation. Mostly it's in your upper body, and mostly this area where you will feel something, but it doesn't have to. And for those of you who are listening and watching and thinking, I didn't feel a thing, am I now strange or not doing it right? No, it's also how well experienced you are with tuning into your body and noticing the changes in the shifts within you. Because if this is the first time that you've done something like this, chances are very high that you either didn't feel anything or was not sure if you were feeling something. So that's perfectly normal. But I was feeling this pain in the chest was the most intenser than the throat thing. So I focused my attention on the pain in my chest, and what I felt was indeed a softening and a form of relaxation. And just holding your attention there already does a lot. Even if you don't feel it, even if you think you don't feel it, it doesn't mean that it's not working.
Yeah.
And another thing that I love to do when I'm already there is consciously start sending love to that spot where I'm feeling this. And if you don't feel something, just sending love to yourself in general. Thinking your mind, oh, I want to send myself some extra love because I'm going through a difficult time. I'm experiencing some heavy emotions or whatever it is that's going on in your life. And I maybe not know why or what it's triggering. Maybe you do know why or what it's being triggered by, but send some love to yourself, because it's very important that you are kind to yourself, loving, soft, gentle. For those of you who have children, pretend that it's one of your children that's coming with this hurt to you. And how would you respond in a loving way as a parent? And for those of you who do not have children, we can probably imagine how we would respond to a child. Or if you have animals, how you would treat your animal when they are hurt or not feeling well. That is the type of energy that you want to send to the place where you're feeling whatever it is that you're feeling, or to yourself in general, if you cannot pinpoint the location in your body. And by doing that, for me, it's softened, and that means that you're opening up. And by opening up, it means that there can be space, and you don't know exactly what for, what is going to come, but that's not your job. Your job is to allow space and to allow movement, because when energy is stagnant, nothing can change. So we want to keep it flowing, we want to keep it moving. And when you are with your full attention to either the thing that's causing your pain or the place in your physical body where you're feeling the response to it, that's where you can find the answers. That's where you can get to know yourself better, where you can find, oh, I thought I was done with this, but apparently there's still a part that's being triggered. And if you can find out what's triggering it, then you can heal it. So that's, I think, what you're talking about, right, Katie? The
Yeah.
gift, the light in the pain. It's the answers that you're going to find about yourself, how the world works for you, how much you've already healed, and what work might be left for you to do.
Exactly. And that's really what we're doing is we're creating that space in order to receive the answers and the solutions that are available that we can't see because we're so caught up in our own drama. But as soon as we sit down and clear that out, then it's just like, whoa, look at all of this wonderful information that is coming through for me all of a sudden.
Mhm,
So, when we again when we're not willing to be in our bodies because it's again too overwhelming or too painful, or maybe we don't even know how, then we're not allowing ourselves to use our greatest tool to receive information, right? We
mhm,
have all of our senses, everything is contained within this little meat suit that we wear. And when we're not willing to use it and tune in, then we really do miss out on the signs that we're being given for every single aspect of our lives. And any question that we ask of the universe is always answered immediately, but we're not able to see that or understand that, or sometimes even know that because we're so disconnected because we don't want to feel our pain.
mhm,
And again, the whole point, I think, the whole point of having pain and painful experiences is to learn and grow through them. It's not to be a punishment and for us to live in forever and ever. And that's what a lot of us do, myself included. There's been a lot of times where it's like the past and what has happened has been the structure for what your life becomes. And that's kind of been the paradigm that we've been taught and conditioned to believe. But we're learning it doesn't have to be that way.
mhm,
And we can choose to let go of the things that we're holding on to that we think we need to hold on to because they make us who we are, right? I'm a broke person because my whole life experience has shown me that there's no other way. But as soon as we go into that and understand the pain that that's causing us, we are understanding that that's not how we're meant to live. And so by getting through that pain, by going into it, we start to unravel the potential causes. And sometimes we do get those answers of why we are the way we are. Sometimes we
mhm,
are shown the events that caused it. Sometimes we aren't, and that's okay. Again, it's just the willingness to go in there and be in that energy and be uncomfortable, be squirming in your seat because it's so painful to be in. But then it's like you go through all of the temporary pain so that you can have permanent peace on the other side.
Mhm.
And sometimes you do have to go back and go back into some of the things that you've already worked on, because we heal in layers. We're like onions. So as
Yes.
soon as you peel back one layer, it's like bam, you get hit with something else you got to heal. Woohoo! And it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. And it is a lifelong process, but it does get easier, it does get faster, it does actually get rewarding and enjoyable, because
Mhm.
when you sit down and you're in that place of just like, oh, things are not good, and you do the work to release all of that from yourself, the biggest reward is that you have happiness on the other side. And
Mhm.
even if we don't call it happiness, even if it's just one step better than what you were feeling before, that's one step better than you were feeling before. And
Mhm.
the more we do this, then we can get to those higher places. And it's choice by choice, and it's a choice to either hold on to the pain and let it live within you, activate your pain body, as Eckhart Tolle says,
Mhm.
or clear all of that out so you're light, you're not carrying around the density and the burdens of what you consider to be the boulders of your life, and all the stuff that other people give you too, right? And we're just so um what's the word I'm looking for here? It's not, well, burdened is the word, but we carry just so much pain within us that is
Mhm.
so unnecessary, thinking that it gives us the things that we're looking for. But really, that pain is giving us the false benefits of what we think we want. It's giving us a false sense of love or security or safety, because sometimes we feel comfortable in that pain. We don't want to let that pain go, because who would we be without it? Right? If we're living our lives with, say, there's some physical pain, and we somehow find that people treat us differently because, maybe we walk with a limp because our hip muscles aren't strong enough, or we had some sort of injury down the road, and we see people treat us differently. We like the way people treat us when we are not our highest selves, and we get accustomed to that kind of behavior, so we don't want to change it, because we think that people are going to treat us differently. And
Mhm.
so we hold on to this. And this has been something that's been going on for, gosh, only knows how long,
Very long
probably all
time.
of human existence. And we're just starting to realize that we don't need any of that stuff to define us. And we have the opportunity to show up as someone different in every moment and just say, yeah, no, I don't want to carry this around anymore. So I'm going to
Mhm.
find a better feeling thought and direct all my focus and all of my attention there.
I think there are a lot of things at play because there are indeed people who, for whom it works this way. Either they're conscious of it or not. Some people are not conscious of that. It actually feels good to be the center of attention because you have a handicap, and a lot of people give you a lot of attention. But it can also be because of what I call rules, the bullshit rules of society. So the things that have been handed down to you about the way life is supposed to work, or the way things are supposed to be done, or the way you're supposed to act, talk, dress. These can cause a lot of limiting beliefs. It can also because of trauma. If you've had a lot of trauma in your life, that can certainly play a factor in it. And then we haven't even talked about the stored karma in your DNA from all your ancestors that are playing a part in it. But I think it all starts with awareness. A lot of us are very disconnected. We live in our head and we are not connected to the body. So a lot of people are not even aware of their pain, or they're not even aware of the things that they're running away from. Because I remember when I was at the before my journey into self-discovery, even I was at the osteopath, and he told me, "Could you please relax your shoulders?" And I said, my shoulders are relaxed." He said, "No, not even close." And I thought, well, these are the most relaxed they're going to get. And then he let me do some exercises. And after that, I thought, oh, this is very different. So I thought I was relaxed, but I was anything but relaxed. So it starts by becoming aware. It starts also by reconnecting with your body, because that's how most people end up in a burnout, because they either don't see, feel, or hear the signals, or they don't know what to do with it. But a lot of people don't even see having a headache or having a headache every day as a big sign, oh, I'm doing things that I should change. So it's becoming aware, it's connecting to your body, and then it's indeed a form of courage, right? To start looking at the things that make you feel uncomfortable, to start looking at the things that might be really painful, especially when you're dealing with trauma. I know that from personal experience, when you have to sort of relive your trauma in order for it to be gone, that can be a very painful and very not looking forward to it process. But the end result is indeed that you feel lighter, that you feel more at peace within yourself, that you feel happier, but also that your outside world is starting to have less and less effect on your inside world. And because more often than not, we are being influenced by someone who calls you a name, or when someone cuts you off in traffic, or when you have a customer on the phone and they're being rude and they're just being very, very unpleasant. I'm saying very nicely. So
Mhm.
there are all these things that can happen in our outside world that usually affect us in a very negative way. And that's what Eckhart Tolle is talking about. It's the pain body within us, and it depends on the experiences that you've had, which other current experiences are triggering that pain. And for most people, they either are not aware what's going on and they only want to just not feel it. So they escape into alcohol, drugs, sex addiction, food addiction, any type of addiction, or attention addiction, right? I
Right.
saw that happening with my sister-in-law. She was really hooked on the attention she was getting when she was pregnant. And then as soon as the baby popped out, all the attention went to the baby, and she couldn't handle that, because all of a sudden she was not really getting the attention anymore, but everything was like, oh, little cute baby, and everything went there. So there are a lot of factors at play in how you're experiencing, what you're experiencing. And what you said about the onion, that's also completely true. And another thing that I want to add to that is, depending on the type of experiences that you've had, like for me, my abuse started at a very young age. That means that I am encountering it in a lot of the layers of my onion. So often clients come to me and say, but I already worked on that. Why isn't it gone? Why is it back? Or did I do it wrong? Or how can I finally get rid of it? And the answer to that question isn't so simple, because if the trauma was deep, then the deeper you go, the more layers you peel off, you're going to keep on encountering it
Yeah.
for as long as you have also layers of emotions and pain to let go of, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Some of these things, especially trauma around abuse, it's so deep and we don't want to touch it. We don't want to go there. It's so painful. And part of the reason why, and you said it takes courage, part of the reason why it takes so much courage is because we have to, in a way, yeah, relive some of that stuff. It's not talk therapy. We're not talking through it, but we have to feel through it. And that's what we don't want to do. And one of the reasons I think why things come up over and over again is because we can do all of this work on our mind, all the mindset work in the world, and we can feel really great about that. But if we're not doing the body set work too, we are still holding on to all of that energy. And
Mhm.
whatever our triggers are just going to keep triggering it until we recognize that it's in our physical bodies. Our cells hold on to everything. There's a book about it called The Body Keeps Score by Bessel van der Kolk. And what he talks about is that everything, every word that you've said, every thought you've ever thought, every feeling that you've ever had, every action, every belief, it's all stored in our cells. And so when the mind gets that thought that triggers the emotion, that all bubbles up and it reignites that emotional memory. It's not necessarily the facts of the case, it's the emotional memory of the situation, which might be
Mhm.
completely opposite of what actually happened. And so you're living in that emotion, you're getting all caught up in it, so it's triggering another thought, which, whoa, guess what? It's going to go trigger another emotion, which triggers a thought, which triggers the emotion. And there you are in that loop. And by having the courage to say, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm going to make a different choice, even just that statement will start the healing process. Whenever you come into, say somebody cuts you off in traffic and you have this habit of just flipping them the bird and screaming out some obscenities. Well, when you notice that's your pattern, then that's starting the healing process. And regardless of if you make a different choice in that moment, it doesn't matter. But it's just the fact that you were like, oh, look at what I did. I think this
I
is a
did it
pattern for
again.
me. Yeah. Right. And it's like that moment of clarity. And so from every moment on, you're going to look at that trigger from a different standpoint. And I think that's also what helps to start healing a lot of those really deep hurts that we have that we don't want to go into. It's
Mhm,
that simple noticing of, oh, I'm going back into this hurt right now. Okay, well, what was the situation that triggered me? Maybe I'm going to write it down. And then the next time, oh, I got triggered again. Okay, well, what did it this time? And
mhm,
starting to notice those patterns for yourself. And simply by noticing the patterns, that will also give you the idea of, again, like, is it in your power center? Right? Are you giving your power away? Is that where you're feeling the weakness or the depletion? Is it in
mhm.
your heart? Is it in your throat, the inability to express yourself? Could it be the headaches? Maybe that leads to something along the lines of you're not congruent with your belief system. So there's all of these different ways that our body is giving us information about what it is that we can heal. And, again, Louise Hay and all of her work in You Can Heal Your Life, and also her book, You Can Heal Your Body, the affirmations that you use to also clear out some of the things that you're feeling around certain points of your body, super super helpful. But again, like, if you don't believe what it is you're saying, then they're just words.
Mhm.
And when we work these deep hurts, when we work these traumas, when we work with the pain, for example, I'll take my experience with severe depression. And it got to a point where it was just so bad when my daughter was, she was 1 years old, I think. And every single day I was face down on the couch in tears for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. There was just like no other way for me to live my life other than just this depressed person. And, I was doing the self-help work and, affirmations, mantras. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm freaking happy. Damn it.
Yes,
Right.
I'm happy, yeah.
You're trying to force yourself to believe something that you just don't believe. And
This
that
is
adds more
exactly why so
pain.
many of the affirmations don't work.
They don't work. And so what I did is I actually wrote, God, and I wrote it. It's not AI. I did this myself. It's hundreds. It's like over 200 supercharged affirmations. And one of the things that I found was that it has to resonate inside your body. And it's what I call the bone buzz. And if you're depressed and you're trying to say, I'm a happy person, yeah, that doesn't resonate at all. But
No.
if you're willing to say, I'm willing to experience joy today, that's a completely different type of energy where you're
Mhm.
open, you're not trying to force anything.
Yeah.
So I've got these like this handful of words that are like my secret weapon: willing, open, ready, available, in the process of, I am manifesting, words
Mhm.
like that. And so I went through all of the affirmations that I was saying to myself around like career, money, relationships, love, health, wealth, everything. And I just changed them all around to, I am willing to, who would I be when, what would it take to?
Mhm.
And so, I have that available for anybody who wants it. And it's just all of these different ways to put these requests out into the universe to help you embody the energies that you want to embody without trying to force yourself to believe something you don't believe. You're just wasting
Mhm.
your time if you're doing that. So, opening yourself up to feel what these words feel like in your body, because again, certain words resonate differently. So, if you're having trouble with money, what does the actual energy of the word money feel like in your body? If it brings you pain, then maybe you need to change the word to something else like currency or wealth or abundance or something else that feels good. Because again, those words that resonate on those pain point triggers aren't going to help you get out of your situation, because you're
Mhm.
just recreating more of the same by going into that pain.
Yeah.
So finding words that open you up, that are conducive to constructing the reality that you want, rather than deconstructing and trying to take away the things that you don't want, because again, whatever you're focused on is what you get, whether you want it or not.
Yes.
So, focusing on the constructive energies will help lift you out of that pain. And also noticing, like, when you say affirmations or mantras, what are you actually feeling inside your body when you're doing that? Are you really connecting with what those words are? Or are you just saying them to kind of go through the motions and try to convince yourself that you're making big changes and moving things around, when in actuality, not much is happening? So
No.
getting honest with ourselves too about, well, what is working and what's not working? And what does it feel like? It's always coming back. What does it feel like? What does it feel like? What does it feel like? Because anywhere we know that it doesn't feel good, we have that opportunity to choose something a little bit different. Again, one
Exactly.
step higher.
There are a couple of things going on with these affirmations, right? Because a lot of us, we are being told that what you focus on is what you will get. So I'm going to say I'm happy because now I'm focusing on being happy. So I will get things to be happy about. If it worked that way, that will be awesome. But sadly, it doesn't work on the things that you're thinking. It's the energy underneath what you're thinking. And if your mind is saying, I am happy, and your feeling saying, no, then that is the thing that's attracting things. And when you are depressed and you're saying I am happy, that gap is too big, because everything inside you is screaming, I'm not happy, I do not feel the happiness, in fact I feel like crying, I feel like holding myself up in a dark house and never ever coming out, or maybe worse, I feel like if somebody hits me with a car tomorrow, I will be fine with it. I've had periods like that where I felt that way. So if you then tell yourself, no, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, that's not going to work because you're not. And you're basically then lying to yourself, and you cannot trick your own energy because your energy knows that you're lying. So if you go the more softer route in saying what you said, I'm open to experiencing some happiness today. Oh, well, yeah, I could be open to experiencing some habit. I don't know if it's going to happen, but that's beside the point, right? If it's
Right.
going to happen, yes or no, that's beside the point. It's that you start feeling, oh, would I be open to feeling some happiness? Well, that will actually be really, really awesome if I could feel some happiness today. Hmm.
Yeah.
And you're already feeling the shift in the energy
Yeah.
when you start thinking like that. When you express yourself in that way, instead of, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, because you're not. Yeah, but you are willing to experience happiness, of course, because that's all you really crave and want to. So of course you're not going to say no. And energy-wise, your response for your body is positive to something like that. And that's where we want to go in. And it can be baby steps. It doesn't have to be, I'm depressed, I'm happy, this huge giant step, because that's not something that's real. That's not something that you're ever going to believe. So it's also not something that's ever going to work. So I'll make sure that the link for your resource, and thank you for sharing it, will be below this episode. So if you're watching and listening and you are interested in how you can start talking to yourself in a way that yourself will accept it, and that it actually is going to make a difference, check out Katie's link below. And while you're at it, it would be amazing if you could also hit the subscribe button and maybe show us some love with a like or a comment. That would definitely make my day. But these are important things to talk about, right? Because a lot of people say a lot of different things, and a lot of people are extremely confused and they don't know what to do anymore anymore, and they don't know how to act or what to do to heal it anymore. And they've tried a lot of things and they've been really disappointed, or it's not been working, or people have promised them the moon and back and then left them in the gutter with a lot of money, poorer or stuff like that. So there are a lot of experiences out there, and that's why I love that we are able to talk about this, because both me and Katie are here to help you. So if you are in a situation where any of what we talked about really resonates with you, and you want to explore how you can be different in it or have different results with it, or you just want to chat because you're depressed, then by all means make use of one of our ways of contacting here below, because we would both love to talk to you and to help you and to guide you, because in the end, that's what we are both here for. Both of our desires are to really help the people with moving into that space where life is just effortless and fun, and where you're going to meet great people like we are meeting here, where you can have awesome talks and where you're smiling for the entire hour because it's so awesome. And that is possible, because I was at a place where you are right now, and Katie was in a place where you are right now, and we're not anymore. So if we can do it, you can do it, and we are here to help. So having said that, I can imagine that people are also wondering how they can reach you or where they can find you, Katie. So where can they find you?
Well, you can email me directly at katie@feelyourlight.com. You can find my website, feelyourlight.com, and you can check me out on social media. Facebook is katiecav.energy, and Instagram is boogie to the music.
I
So
love that.
I'm around. Y'all can find me.
Definitely. I'll make sure that all of those links are also included in the show notes. So don't worry if you were writing along and you missed some parts, you can read it in the show notes. So this has been a really amazing talk. I think we have time for one more thing, because I forgot that I was really interested in talking with you about, you mentioned shadow projection.
Shadow projection. So we tend to project ourselves and our pain onto people, not even knowing. And this is our pain body, really. It is our shadow aspect coming out. And we have seen it in full force over the past few months, actually, with the retrogrades, with all of the changes celestially. I'm not even going to go into that because I'll talk for another hour. But we are seeing the true pain that people are carrying around, projecting onto others.
Mhm.
And when we notice that there's projection of our shadow, we have the opportunity to stop it. But when other people are doing it to us, it is all about the way that we respond. And what happens is when we're getting projected onto, a lot of times that activates our own pain.
Mhm.
And what we can learn from this, again, try to keep it short here, but we can learn from this is that whatever is being projected onto us is valuable because it's also somewhere resonating within ourselves. We can't recognize that vibration in someone else if we
Mhm.
cannot also recognize it in us. So if we're
Mhm.
feeling attacked by someone, whatever it's coming out as, maybe it's jealousy. Someone's very jealous of us and we're taking the brunt of all of their pain. Where within us, within ourselves, could we still be harboring some sort of jealousy, whether it's something we're holding on to from the past, or maybe we're envying something that somebody has that we don't yet have, or whatever it could be. these times of shadow projection are just, they're full of golden nuggets for
Mhm.
us to take and pocket and learn more about ourselves and more about our pain, while still finding the softness and the compassion and the gentleness to respond in a loving way to whoever is projecting onto us. And that might be simply saying, I don't have the energy to deal with this right now, I'm going to walk away,
Mhm.
and just honoring your own boundaries at that point.
It's perfectly
Because we
acceptable.
never, yeah, we never have to take the gift of projection that someone else is giving to us. We can
No.
say, no, thank you, return to sender, I'm not going to participate.
Yes.
And knowing our own shadow gives us the ability to say, no, I'm not going to take this gift that you are trying to give me. I don't want it.
Mhm.
And it helps us to recognize when we are projecting our own shadows onto others and where others are projecting onto us. And it's just this loop of healing. It's just like
Mhm.
this infinity cycle of, oh, I see the projection in you. Okay, let me take it back. Oh, where am I projecting? Okay, this is where I'm seeing it, and it just goes back and forth as an opportunity for us to learn, to
Yes.
grow, to expand, and to alchemize that darkness into the light.
I love how you explained that, and you're absolutely right. This is where the saying hurt people comes from. People who are hurt themselves tend to hurt other people. Not always intentional, sometimes also very
Yeah.
unintentional, but it can only resonate within you if the hurt is also active within you. And if you either don't have that hurt or you've completely healed it, then you are in a position to say, okay, there's clearly something going on with you, or you say it internally in yourself. That's usually better. But there's clearly something going on with you, and that's your thing. And I'm going to leave it with you. I'm not going to accept this energy. And I wish you the best. I hope that you manage. If you need my help, I'm here. But for now, I'm leaving you with your things and I'm walking away. And that's not disrespectful, that is taking really good care of yourself and leaving things where they should be left, because this is something that the other person needs to heal or needs to work on within yourself. And it's not your responsibility to take it on. It's not your responsibility to offer help or to even acknowledge it or do anything with it, except maybe just hold some love or a light within your heart, if they are people that you actually care about. If it's people that just send you unwanted messages on Facebook, like I've been getting a lot, then don't even bother caring. Just delete or block the entire thing and be gone. Oh, I have really, really, truly enjoyed our talk this evening. I hope that you, listener and watcher, also really enjoyed our talk today. I want to thank you, Katie, first of all, for being here, for having this wonderful talk with me, but also watchers, viewers, fans of my show. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for sharing this episode with your people, your circle of influence, and for just showing up. I love all of you, and I will be talking to you again in next week's episode. So for today, have an amazing rest of your day and talk soon.